What's going on, guys? This is Andrew from Greek Speak. As I said at the end of the episode with Owen, we're going to switch some things up and, move things online and bring in, that gives us an opportunity to bring in people from all across the country. And I've actually been blessed to have an internship with the Kappa Sigma fraternity since the end of January, where I've met some great people. And one of them being Mr. CJ Pena, been a good friend of mine, and, I've learned some good things from him. So, I got CJ here today. So what's going on, CJ?
What up, Andrew? How you feeling?
Good, good. So, obviously, this is Greek speak. One of my true passions here. So, if you want to just kind of give an introduction of who you are, where you go. Obviously, I kind of spoiled it already, but you're in the Kappa Sigma fraternity. So, who you are, where do you go to school, and what's your major?
Yeah, my name's CJ Pena. I'm a junior at Angelo State University. Like you said, I'm in the Kappa Sigma fraternity, and we're the Tau Sigma chapter. I'm a double major in management and marketing, and yeah, I'm excited to do this. So.
So you mentioned management and marketing. Was that something that you're double majoring in them? Were you always planning on doing that, or is that something that you changed throughout your process? Because it's funny, I was actually just talking to one of my college guidance counselors probably like 20 minutes ago, and I was like, it's crazy and the amount of people that have changed their majors throughout college. But as I was saying, is that something that you always had planned, or is that something you developed throughout time?
No, I mean, I think growing up, it's always something I knew I was gonna do. I mean, I know get it out the way, everybody. It's just easy as major. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, there's not a single business, right, that management and marketing aren't important, right? I mean, without those two things, I mean, they're literally the fundamentals of everything, right? I mean, marketing more than anything, especially like in today's age, right, where, you know, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know, and the only way you can
Yep.
make those connections is by having a good appearance and having a good head on your shoulders and being able to market yourselves, right? I mean, it's funny actually, like we actually had like a, I don't want to call it a field trip, but my class like recently took like a like we went to this like chicken art farm. It was really weird, but she told me like the lady who owned the chicken art farm was like, like we have a bunch of like really good artists, but their problem is that they don't know how to market themselves, right? Like they don't know how to get their product out there, right? I mean, think about it, like really and truthfully, especially like I said, like now more than ever, it is one of those things like we're not trying to, reinvent the wheel anymore. It's like, why is yours better than someone else's? And
Right.
more times than not, it might not be, but they like you, right? They like what you're selling, and so
Well,
that's pretty it.
it's the ability of being able to adapt in a sense. Like, I always tell people this. Like, I would much rather 20 people come to let's say you're having a meeting and this meeting's a brainstorming meeting where you're talking about, a potential new event. I'd rather 20 people come in there and everyone have a different idea and we're able to all combine the ideas, talk about it, and ultimately make the best product at the end rather than only having two people because then, you may end up upsetting people because, well, I guess that's the best answer because no one else gave me any answer, any suggestions, you know what I mean? But yeah,
No, I mean you're 100% right.
I 100% live on the motto of like it's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and definitely in this day and age. But um, I really want to bring that up because you're actually doing an internship. So, what is your internship, and how did that happen?
Yeah, so but right now, yeah, I am currently interning with the Dallas Wings of the WNBA. I'm a game presentation intern, so pretty much, like all the fun stuff that goes on the arena is the way that I like to put it. That's obviously not the game itself, but kind of all the lights and the shows and all that stuff. Um, I'll be honest, so I didn't start watching the WNBA until the bubble.
Hmm.
Because obviously, like, just like most people right there, wasn't really anything else to do. So I was like, like whatever, let's just watch it. And obviously it kind of, caught my attention. I know that there's like this like big stigma around WNBA, like, oh, like, it's not a big league, so like whatever, whatever. Um, but I think for me, I think that's one of the reasons why I was drawn, to it so much is that they obviously there is so much to grow, right? I mean, like the ideas are out there, right? But they're obviously just not being put in action. And so I think that's why. I mean, think about it, like your NBAs, your NFLs, your MLBs, right? Like they've already tried everything. I mean, sure, there's like always new stuff popping up. I mean, they've already tried so many things. So really and truthfully, their margin of growth is going to be somewhat stagnant rather than something that is still newish, right? Like while the WNBA has obviously been around since like before I was born, it obviously hasn't had this boom that it's had over the last 2-3 years since Caitlin and Angel and obviously now Paige Beckers. I mean, just I think that there's a lot of room for growth, and I really hope that I get to be a part of it. So.
Yeah. So, um, how did that happen? Like, how did you end up getting the internship? Obviously that happens by you know somebody. There's some type of connection there. So, how did that happen?
Yeah, actually, I applied last year for this exact position. I didn't get it. Um, And I think that, after like talking to them or whatever, and, because we actually went and looked at my old application, I think that there was just handfuls of things that I was lacking. Um, and so whenever my name came up again for the second time, like um, for this go around of hires, they could obviously see that my, resume was completely different than it was last year. And that obviously included, right, being on the UAC for Area 4. And so I think that it was literally just one of those things where they saw that, well, a lot of people can just like quit and give up and be like, whatever. They knew that instead of like taking, just a summer job or a summer class, they're like, well, damn, this guy actually went out to get some type of leadership, and obviously I think it helped. But again, like I wouldn't have had I think that even if I would have applied my very first time this year, I probably wouldn't have gotten it because they wouldn't have seen that, that growth, right? They wouldn't have
Right.
seen that
Right.
that step up.
I mean, it means a lot. I mean, it's a lot of times. I mean, my dad's a good example of someone that like applied at a company that they didn't take him, and then 5 months down the road applied again, and they ended up taking him because like it means a lot to that company when you come back. You bounce back. As you said earlier, like you could just give up and quit, like, oh well, I didn't get it. That sucks. But I think it means something more. And, obviously they're going to recognize your name from previous applications. And as you said, I mean, it's the ability to acknowledge. I don't want to necessarily say you were wrong, but acknowledge that you weren't the right person. You were the right person at the wrong time, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
that's yeah,
And, you had to take the year to grow. I mean, it's a great step, and it's something that you and I have actually spoken about. I've sent in some applications, been unsuccessful as well. So something that I'm kind of going through right now. But I do want to get to it. You mentioned UAC for Area 4. I'm actually unaware of what that is. We don't have that here on the East Coast here at Ship.
yeah. Well, so Kappa Sigma is broken up into 5 areas. Obviously, like you have your district, so whatever district that you would fall under, then and it's usually based by state. So, for example, Area 4 is Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, all the way to I want to say Alabama. I
Hmm.
think Bama's in my area for sure. Georgia is, like Arkansas, some of those states. On the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken, you're Area 5. I want to say Area 5. I want to say Area 5. Sorry. So basically, what it is so like I said, so Kappa Sigma is broken up into 5 areas. Mine being Area 4, and so basically what it is it's literally just the undergraduate advisory committee is there to represent the undergraduates, right? So, for example, imagine if every single time something minor came up, right? And you were like, man, I need to talk to my boss, right? Like you're like, whatever job you have, like your actual like boss.
Right.
Well, here's the thing: your boss has way too many things on his plate. The boss in this case being the SEC has obviously too many things on that plate. So what do they do? Then they would delegate. So in theory, you would then report to your supervisor or your shift lead or whatever. And so that's kind of what the undergraduate advisory committee is we represent the undergraduates because we are the link between nationals and the undergraduates, right? Because we understand, at least as undergraduates, at least this group of five for sure, understand that there are, certain things that, you might not talk to your double A about, or you might not talk to your DGM the same way that you would talk to us, right? I mean, it's literally one of those things where we're like a friend, like we are a resource of, hey, we understand what you're going through because again, let's be honest, right? That there are a lot of times where you might say, oh man, like we can't get these guys to rush because of X, Y, and Z, right? And your double A or DGM be like, it's because you're not trying. It's like, well, that's not true. And so like as undergraduates, we sympathize and we go, yes, like I get it, this happens. And so then what we do is we're like, okay, well, the exact problem that you're having, right? I know a school who's also having this problem. Maybe you guys should talk, communicate, talk it out, right? I mean, and I'm gonna be honest, right? 2 years ago, we were one of those schools, right, where there was nothing. Like, I mean, we weren't the biggest on campus. We weren't, we weren't doing too hot. We definitely didn't have the best GPA. I know that for sure. Not very many community service hours weren't very involved. We were kind of always doing our own thing. I was like, man, like we should really change this. And so, while sure, I mean, was I the one who spearheaded it? Yes. But obviously without my guys, I couldn't have done it. And so I think that what happened was I started communicating with a lot of the brothers around specifically Texas because Texas is just so big. And then kind of built up that following there. So that whenever the time came to run for UAC, to be on the undergraduate advisory committee, it was a little bit easier because a lot of these guys knew that I wasn't just going and saying the things I was going to do. I was going around doing the things that I said I was going to do, which I think is the most important part. Like anybody can give a good speech or talk up a good show, right? But it's can you do it, right? Like, can you help others whenever, the time comes? And if I would have lost, man, would it have sucked 100%? But I wouldn't have stopped doing what I was doing because I knew that
Exactly.
there are a lot of chapters who, really love talking to each other. And again, I mean, you as the GM, like you know what I'm talking about when I say this is that, you know, I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink it, right? Like there's obviously schools who have asked for a million different things, right? Oh, they had this. I'm like, yeah, here you go, here you go, here you go, here you go. But then they didn't want to implement it, right? Like UNT, the University of North Texas, is a amazing example of a school who, before the year started, his GM called me. He was like, hey man, like him and his double A called me. We're like, hey, like we really want to do what you guys did at Angelo. We really want to kind of like turn it around, like kind of start a new, like,
Start a new
this
leaf.
new stigma, like, yeah, like really just like turn the page. And I was like, all right, brother, like it's going to be hard, but this is what we did. Right. I mean, like last year, I want to say, I think he said they had like 20 something ish, 30 some face points in total. And then their final scorecard, I'm pretty sure they're going to enter around like 79 or like something really close to that 82 point mark. And obviously, right, it's not a 1 year thing. I mean, sometimes it takes multiple years, but to see that transition of like he was like, man, I really want to change the way we do things and to actually do it. I mean, you can't ask for anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I can vouch for us as well. I mean, when I came in spring of 2023, um, at that current point, our chapter was at honestly a historical low. We had about 20 guys, and a lot of I'd say it was the EC and about two others that actively did things within the chapter. So it wasn't a very big chapter. Honestly, the brotherhood connection, just wasn't there. And I came in with 16 members in my pledge class, and you know, it honestly saved us. You know, we sat at 36 there, and then over the last 2 years, at that point we had low numbers. Our GPA sucked. We just weren't where we weren't where we were supposed to be. So we flipped the script. We decided we're going to make some changes, and we also changed our recruitment style. Like we wanted to bring in these people who are dedicated and want to do something successful in their life. Ultimately look at it as, yes, there's 4 years in college, but I want to make sure I come here, have a good time, learn a lot, but ultimately move on and be successful in my life. And in the 2 years since, um, we've had multiple successful ECs. Our chapter's up from 20 in spring of 2023 to 58 today. Had some great rush events and stuff like that. But it also goes to it also I also credit everyone buying in. Our previous exec board at that time laid down the vision, laid down the groundworks of what do you this is what I want. This is how we're going to get to to the promised land. Now it's up to you guys to get us there. And all of them have graduated since. And I was the GMC last year, and I just recently got reelected for second term for GMC. And you begin to see things differently when you're in it for your second time, for your second go around. But that's a little bit about me. But what positions have you held within the chapter?
Yeah, so I was an initiate of 2021. Um, right after initiation, I became GT. And then the following semester, our GP wasn't doing what a GP should do, and so we ended up removing him from office. And then I became the GP. And then so in the 2022 spring, I was GP, and then the 2022 fall was whenever I started my first term of GM, which I held all the way until this last 2024 fall, and then I just was elected to be the GMC till the fall of 2025. So I thought for me, right, as you know, I mean, as open as we can be about it, I mean, just certain aspects of the position just really mattered to me the most. I mean,
Yeah.
I became a master of the ritual and last summer, and I really want to help my essentially my last class that will be here in my time at Angelo State, to make sure that they don't lose those values, right, and to so that they don't just go off and do whatever, and make sure that the vision stays the same, so that we continue to win face awards for years to come. So
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and that's something that I've done within my chapter. Um, I so obviously we have our guards who are our ritual chairs, but over this past year, I implemented a ritual education chair, kind of being like my right hand man in terms of ritual. I picked out a guy that his name is Rowan. He really he was really passionate in the ritual, and he works with me very often. We're planning multiple workshops for next semester, but I mean it kind of goes exactly what you said of like keeping the tradition alive, and that's what I felt coming from my predecessor of Trenton, someone that just did a phenomenal job. And then Hindi was in between for a semester than myself, keeping the tradition alive. And obviously, recruitment is a big deal for me. I served as a co-recruitment chair or co-rush chair. I wasn't officially the title. I didn't officially hold the title, but I just did it because I wanted to. I really have passion in bringing people in, and people make fun of me all the time. And yeah, right now I do this little rub of the belly thing of like, oh, um, what's your percentage? People like to make fun of me for that one, but um, it's crazy because during my reelection, um, a question got brought up about like how many people did someone asked a question of is Andrew the reason why you're here today? And about 50%, probably higher than that, raised their hand. And I think that speaks volume. But obviously, as I was talking, like we've had a great experience within our organization. But um, ultimately, why did you choose Kappa Sigma? What are the like? I don't know what it's like over at Angelo State. I just hear great things about you guys, and that's about it. So, what ultimately led you down the path where you're in Kappa Sigma and you've held multiple leadership positions?
yeah, I'll preface by saying I'm gonna be honest. Like most people, I feel like, especially at like smaller universities, I was never gonna be in a fraternity.
Yep.
Well, it's not me, bro. I don't do all that. Um, and I think what's really funny, and I think if there's anything that I hope that like people listen to, like out of all of this right here, is that really and truthfully, like a fraternity is what you want it to be.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll be honest, at a smaller school, I mean, and it's just the reality of it. At a smaller school, anybody who says y'all not even a real fraternity, that's not true, right? I mean, because sure, are we doing what we can, especially in our communities, right? Like more specifically than anything, that our school and our chapter, I mean, this last year we raised over $50,000 for military heroes, right? Like we put on, the seal drop, and it's something that's going to continue for years to come, right? We did it the last year at the baseball game the first time, and we already have planned to do it at the football game for a military appreciation night, and again continue to build from that. And the reason I say that is because while sure we're not doing the movie fraternities, what we are doing is, you know, doing things that we know are right, doing things that we want to do with other people, right? It's not just paying for friends, right? It's really and truthfully like it is. You can get as much out of it as you want to. Like, that's just the bottom line. And so, whenever I rushed, my big, who is now like the DGM of our district, um, he was a senior, and literally, like me and him just, I mean, just instantly clicked. Like, I mean, just pretty much on like every level. Like, we enjoyed the same like sports. We played the same games. Like, we really were like just became like best friends, right? Like, I mean, like best man at my wedding type deal. Like, really good friends. And so that's where it started because really and truthfully, like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, it is more than anything. Like, you have to be friends with someone before you rush them, right? Like, people going in just like, yeah, man, like you should join my fraternity. Bro, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I probably wouldn't have joined if that was the case,
That's
because
it's
it's
a turn off.
yeah, like it's the same thing, like, whenever, guys are trying to hit on girls, or like the girl doesn't, they don't just want to hear like, oh yeah, like you should come over to my place. No, bro, like they want to like know about you, they want to get to learn about you, like kind of things like that, like not just, oh, I'm going straight in. And so like you said, like it's a big turnoff. And fortunately for me, right, like it wasn't like that. Like, it was really just organic, and it was like, hey man, like, you should come over, like, you know I got some of my friends over, like you should hang out with them. And then that's whenever I learned that they were in a fraternity. And so, while technically looking back at it, you could probably say, oh man, like he got you. But I will say though that I would have rather it happened that way than him just coming straight out and being like, hey man, join my fraternity, because it wouldn't have been as organic. It would have felt, like you said, it would have felt a little bit forced. And
Yeah, I mean
it's been the best thing I've ever, it's been the best decision I ever made, though, that's for sure.
yeah, and I feel the exact same way. But I mean, that's something I tell so many people, and that is the main purpose of the show. And honestly, it's kind of targeted at people that are in your shoes in a sense of, oh, I didn't want to join a fraternity. I feel this, I was the same way. It's those people, and when I go out and recruit people, and or when I tell my rush guys, or when I work with the chapter, I tell them this is the first thing that you need to realize is you need to first make a friend. And honestly, I tell people the first three interactions that you have with someone, especially like in terms of trying to recruit them, don't even bring up Kappa Sigma. Just talk about your life. I mean, obviously, if you want to bring up, oh, like I'm part of the exec board, blah blah blah, but talk about, oh, what's your favorite sports? I mean, that's kind of what happened with me. We had a campus fair, and the guys were playing football, and I asked if I can play, and then they invited me over. And I remember this day so clearly. I went over and I watched Ravens preseason football. I'm a huge Ravens fan. I hate the preseason, but I mean, I didn't really care. I was just over hanging out with the guys, and they were just it meant a lot to me because at that point it clicked that they just really wanted to get to know me as a person. And I mean, I remember we were sitting there, we were playing card games, like it was just fun to me. And like that's what really set it off for me. And then obviously the values of the organization were something that also stood out to me. But kind of going off that, um, with how you said, like it wasn't something that you were interested in. What would you say is the type? What type of advice would you give to someone who may be listening, who may be on the fence, whether they're a senior that just graduated coming to college, or a sophomore or junior? What is some advice that you would give to someone that is kind of, they're like thinking about it but they're on the fence?
Tell everybody this, and obviously, you know, I'm I'm a Kappa Sigma through and through, and I hope everybody rushes Kappa Sigma. I mean, that's the reason we're the biggest fraternity in the world. But I say the worst thing that happens is that you get a free meal out of it, or you get a free whatever out of it, because at the end of the day, like you just going to meet these guys, you might not join the fraternity. I mean, dude, I've got friends who are outside of fraternity, right? Who we try to get to rush and they ended up rushing, but doesn't mean we're not friends anymore. Like the chapters and the guys who all of a sudden just like hate you because you don't want to rush their fraternity, you should be lucky that you didn't rush that fraternity. You know what I mean? Like guys who all of a sudden just hate you or like stop talking to you or like try to gaslight you because you don't want to rush, whatever fraternity they're a part of. Like you should really and truthfully just be excited that you didn't follow through and rush that fraternity, because those weren't going to be real friends anyway. If they're just not going to talk to you anymore just because you didn't rush. Like, sure, does it suck? I mean, of course, like everybody wants this guy or guy that they're recruiting to join. But at the end of the day, right? Like I said earlier, is that the fraternity is what you make it, right? I mean, like I came to a school where we never won any awards. We definitely didn't have any real leaders. I mean, dude, like my chapter was installed in 2015, right? Like we we could have just I could have just joined and then continued to just be average. Um, but all it takes is one person, right? Like it just
Yeah.
it takes one person, and those that are listening on the fence, like, and that could be you, right? Like if you would have told me, 3 years ago that I would have been on the UAC, or if you would have told me like 3 years ago that I would have been able to travel all over America, because of Kappa Sigma, right? I've gone to so many different states, right? I mean, and we have Chicago, right? I mean, in a few weeks or next weekend, sorry,
Yeah.
next weekend for the SEC meeting, and then obviously Vegas, right? All on Kappa Sigma, because I went out there and I went and looked actively looking for opportunities, and so that's all you can do, right? I mean, I'm just some kid from a small D2 West Texas school, and I've been able to kind of tell the story and be able to put in positions to succeed because I wanted it, and so hopefully guys understand that it's the fraternity is bigger than you. The fraternity is bigger than your campus. I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody wants to be the coolest guys on campus, like, sure, whatever, but at the end of the day, like, what are you doing that's beneficial for not only your time in college, but what's beneficial to your long
Your
term
life.
long term aspirations?
Exactly.
Yeah, like, is your fraternity actually going to help you better your resumes or better you know your adulthood? I mean, if they are, great. If they're not, then, well, you should probably reconsider. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. So obviously this is kind of a like piggybacking off the previous question. So obviously, and as much as I hate this, there is a stigma around Greek life, and obviously I hate that it exists, but it is a thing. So how would you how would be the approach that you would combat that when talking to a P&M in a sense?
and when you say stigma, you mean just like
Just
in
like
what?
these people are just partiers and stuff like that, and like they don't really care about their grades and that sense.
I think that the stigma is only there because of obviously like movies and stuff. But if you can't refute the stigma, then you probably are that stigma, right? Like, for example, whenever people are like, "Oh, like I don't really want to join a fraternity because all y'all do is party and stuff," it's like, well, let me show you something that's proof, right? And then you go, here's our community service hours, here's what we've done, here's where we've gone, right? Like every single state conclave, the conclaves in, for me at least, Colorado, Vegas now, Louisiana last year, and then 2 years ago in Charlottesville, right? Like then at that point, then they come up with something that's like, oh man, you guys are just paying for friends. It's like, no, we're not just paying for friends. It's this is where my money is going. This is what your money is doing. And so, like, if and only if you cannot refute a stigma of like, if there's really no, oh, all you guys do is party, you say, well, we actually don't party. Like, this is what we do. And then once you can start combating those like arguments with facts, then that's whenever it goes, oh man, like I was wrong, right? But if they come to you and they have all these like stigmas and you can't refute it, then that's whenever you need to start looking inside, going like, oh damn, like maybe we are a problem. And so, and I'm not saying it's bad to do any of those things, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, like have a good time while you're in college. That's why you're in college. Um, but if that's all people see you for and it's true, which most times it's not, but if you can actually prove that it's not, then you have nothing to worry about. But if you can't prove it isn't, then that's where your problem lies, and that's something that has to be fixed internally. And so that's why for us, fortunately, we go, I mean, yeah, like the guys have good times, like we do a lot of fun stuff, but then you go, but we also do this, right? I mean, unfortunately for me and my chapter specifically is um for the last 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years in a row, we have guys who are in charge of like the student lead, not just like orientation leaders, but like the leaders over all of them for the orientations and for the summer camps, right? So when the parents are coming in, like touring the school and doing whatever, right? They go, oh man, like that guy's really cool before they even know that you're affiliated with Greek, right? The
Yeah.
parents are like, oh man, like that kid's good, like you should hang out with that kid, right? Or whatever. Then the time comes to where, then they go look at all the student organizations on campus, and then you go, oh, actually, that kid's in this fraternity. And they go, well, hold on now. So you're saying they also have leaders on campus, right? Because that's all any parent cares about, right? They go, oh, I don't want my child to get into drugs or get into, all this other bad stuff, right? That comes with the stigma of being in fraternities or whatever. But then when you can say, well, actually, we have leaders on campus, we got leaders nationally, we got leaders, over the state, like whatever, then it becomes, oh, wow, that's an upstanding young man or whatever. And then all of a sudden, everything kind of starts falling into place a little bit. Right. And so that's what I tell all my guys in my area, I tell all my guys in the state of Texas, I say, look, you guys need to get involved in some shape, way, or form in orientations, or
Yeah.
if you guys have like little mini summer camps before, you guys need to be in there because that is the perfect opportunity. Not to say go do it so you can recruit. That's not why. But because
It's to
usually at
create
those
those
things,
friendships.
exactly, like usually at those things, kids are going to be kids, right? Like really and truthfully, like when you have a bunch of guys who just graduated high school, right, and this is their first time out, like they're going to act like kids, like really and truthfully, like they're going to act like kids before they get on campus and they think, oh man, I'm so cool, right? Like that's when you get to really learn a person, right? And that's whenever you can really see who they are, like when their guard is quote unquote down, like whenever they're just being goofy, right? And see if, hey man, this is a good fit. I mean, one thing we talk about all the time is that like not a single one of us, dude, like there are professionals at this. Like not a single one of us undergraduates can judge someone on their character off of a couple dinners with them from rush week.
Yeah.
Right? That's what pledgeship is for. Like you they become a pledge, right? And you get to learn all about them, right? They get to learn about you. They get to learn about the inner workings. You get to learn kind of how they think a little bit, right? And then at the end of those 6, 8, 9, 10 weeks, whatever, however long your pledgeship is, if they both feel that it's mutually, it's not going to work for either of them, then they can go, right? But what's the problem with trying? I
Yeah.
mean, you don't know you like something until you do, right? Like dude, I my entire life, I was like, man, I hate, I hate the certain shit. This is weird, but like, I'm like, man, I hate drums. Like, it's so weird. Like, I hate drum wings. I was like, man, no, they just taste it. Like, I don't like them. Like, they just look weird, right? And it's like, dude, like you're being ridiculous. Like drums, like what's wrong with drums? I would only eat flats. It's so weird, but I would only eat flats, and I was like, nah, drums are just weird. I can't do that. And then finally I was like, nah, whatever, I'll try or whatever. And it was fine. But I would have never known that if I didn't just like try
Yeah.
it. It's such a weird thing, but it's like that I just use that analogy all the time because it's like it sounds like really
You
dumb, but it's
can't
like
you
I would
can't
have
knock
never
it. You
known
can't knock it
otherwise.
until you try it.
Exactly. Like you cannot knock it until you try. And then if you hate it, at least you then know that you hate it rather than going on the rest of your life of not knowing what if. So
I mean,
that's
it's
just
kind of going back to what you said about getting involved. I mean, that's something that I stress to so many people, and I think it's also good for potentials in a sense. One person in specific, Mr. Theo Campamanis. Um, he's been in since spring of 2024, but he was my RA during my sophomore year, and I remember my roommates and I were like, "Oh, he's a really cool guy. Let's bring him down. Let's talk to him." And we just, it came down. And we talked and really just got to know each other, and found out that he really liked the gym, and that was great. But like it's these people that get involved, and he's also the president of the Asian Islanders Association here at Shippensburg. He was a obviously he was an RA. He's a student ambassador. Our vice president Alex Staub, he's a student ambassador. Um, it's all these people that like you can do it. Like I don't. I always hear the concern of, oh, how am I going to balance my time? You can balance your time if you want to balance your time. I mean, I feel like that's me every single day. I mean, I feel like I'm a chicken with my head cut off, but I like it that way. I mean, today I've been nonstop. I've been doing a bunch of. I was editing videos all day, and then I was at the gym, and then here today. I'm here now, but I like the nonstop, on the go
Hmm.
mindset because it keeps me motivated, and I think it rubs off on some people. I mean, our president, my one of my co-hosts, Luke Hillegass, he's another great guy that he really does rub off on me. Like he's like, dude, I don't know what I would do like without stress. He embraces
Hmm.
stress, and I tell him, I'm like, dude, I don't know how you do it sometimes, but it's crazy. But you know, what would you say are some life lessons that you've taken from your experience? Because obviously throughout the show, it's I've heard some very educated things, but what would you say are some life lessons that you've learned and life lessons that you want to give to the next generation?
Like I said earlier, I mean, I think really the biggest thing is that like you really don't know what can happen in life, and so it's always better to do everything you can while you are still here, and not be afraid to fail, right? Like, I mean, we talked about it too the other day, is how last summer, right, I didn't have a single internship. You know what I mean? I was sitting here because I was on my high horse, I guess is the best way to put it. If I was like, man, I'm only applying to professional teams. I'm not applying to any minor leagues or whatever, like pro only. And while I in a way it bit me in the butt because uh, I wasn't able to have a sports internship. Um, it also had a positive side of I wouldn't have been able to run for UAC if I wouldn't have been at leadership in the summer. And so I think that, obviously this year, I mean, we talked about it too. Like, I have two. Obviously, the first half of my summer is with Dallas, and then the second half will be with the Minnesota Vikings. And it's like if I would have just given up right there and been like, oh man, maybe this sports thing just isn't for me, uh, then I wouldn't be in the situation where, like, last summer I was upset because I didn't get one. This summer I was upset because I didn't know what I was going to do if one of them said no to leaving early. Right, and I was like, oh Jesus, like, what do I do? And so, but I think really and truthfully, like the biggest thing out of all of it, and the one that has followed me really and truthfully, like, since I almost feel like the beginning, is the Latin motto, "Menem and Ceremonies," right? I mean, it remains and shall remain. Like, I think that what you believe now might not be. I think for me, like, the biggest thing is the one thing that I tell all my new guys is, the quote "Menem and Ceremonies," the Latin motto, meaning it remains and shall remain, is that, like, while your beliefs right now might not be the beliefs that you have in 20 years, right? Your future was already pre-planned, right? Like, it's just the future, and it was going to remain regardless, right? And so you were always going to end up down whatever path that was essentially designed for you at birth, right? And so how you get there, might have been different from, a million different timelines or whatever you believe in, right? That, it might have been different how you got there, but you were always going to get to this point of your life. And so for me, it's like wherever you're going is where you're going to be anyway. So, like, take the path and enjoy the ride. And so to me, like, that's one thing that I try and, impress upon my guys every single day, that, like, tomorrow's not promised, but what you can do now is what you should do. And so that's that's really just my biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's some great advice. Um, I got one last question for you, and then I want to open it up to you. I mean, you can ask whatever you want. But my last question for you is, I mean, obviously here we are tonight, on the show talking all things Greek. But It's a simple question of why were you interested in coming on the show? Um, Obviously, you were one of the first people I reached out to. I thought you had a really good story, and it's been a great episode so far. But ultimately, it's your choice. So why were you interested in coming on?
If I'm being completely honest with you, like I don't like every once in a while, like someone will ask me like kind of be on a podcast or whatever, and be like, oh yeah, like whatever. Um, but I think brothers should always help each other. Like it doesn't matter. Like for example, you're literally in a different time zone than I am. You're hours away. And obviously this is something that like we had talked about before, and obviously sometimes like things don't always fall into fruition. But like at the end of the day, I might be a Kappa Sigma at Angelo State, and you might be a Kappa Sigma at Chipuden University. It's like Shippensburg University. It's like we're all Kappa Sigmas at heart,
Yeah,
right? Like at the end of the day, like if I can help a brother in any, shape, way, or form, like I'm gonna help a brother. And I really do hope that, your guys specifically like listen to it and go like, man, like, obviously if this small D2 school can do it, then like anybody can do it. And that's really my
and
biggest
we're
thing
in the
is that
same
like
boat. We're in the same boat with this, small D2 school here at Ship. So, you know, right around the
exactly.
same. But this is kind of the part where I like to. This is something we implemented a couple episodes back. But what questions do you have for me? I mean, this one's a little bit different because it's not me and my co-host, it's just me. But what questions would you say you have for me? And they can be whatever you want.
So what's next for you then? Obviously like you have this, we talked about it. I mean, we're both, calm interns for Kappa Sigma at HQ. And so like, I guess to me is like what's next for you, right? I know you have one more year left, but what do you want to leave? Like what's going to be your legacy whenever you leave? Like, when they look back and they go, oh man, like, we used to have this guy named Andrew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what are they going to say? And if you like, what do you want to leave? Like what's your mark?
I mean, obviously, it goes back to leaving a legacy. It goes to leaving a everlasting impact on each and every single person in the chapter. I tell every single person, like, I want to make it my mission to make sure that I do my job to make sure that I set you up for success. Whether it's getting you connected with an alumni, or getting you connected with someone on campus, or going to the library with you and helping you study. I care about each and every person in this chapter. Yes, I may be closer with certain individuals. That's just life. But I want to build on the success that I've had and the chapters had. But for me personally, I mean, obviously, I have this podcast with being Greek speaking and beyond the game. And then obviously, I'm in the final stages of developing a Kappa Sigma podcast through the internship. And that's been so much fun. So, over this next year, which I mean, it's crazy to say that I only have 1 year left, but I want people to look back at me and know that I gave it my all. I was willing to adapt and make changes and willing to admit when I was wrong. I mean, yeah, I made plenty of mistakes during my first term, and that's fine. But I mean, I think it's the fact that everyone's human and acknowledging that people mess up. But I want to be looked at as the guy that picked himself back up and really inspired change here. I mean, I brought in, I think, four new chairs under the GMC. One being diversity, personal wellness, ritual, education. I might be blanking, but I think that's just I think it's just those three. But I just want to be looked at as someone that gave it their all, and truly cared about each and every person. But um, regards to the podcast, just giving it my all. I mean, this is. I mean, you mentioned it. Literally, being willing to connect with someone that's halfway across the country. I want the whole point of the show is to bring people on to share their story, to give a platform for people to spread awareness about this great thing called Greek life, because there's so many people out in this world that aren't in Greek life that would be phenomenal additions to Greek life. And if I can if I can have any say in that and changing their minds, that would be phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely my thing, is someone that gave it their all and just truly loved every person and loved everything that they do. You got any other questions?
Yeah, I was just like trying to. I was like, no, that was a good answer. I was literally just like comprehending like all that because I'll be honest with you, like I just looked over to my left and I just saw like that get out of his car with like one leg. And it's like it like I know it sounds like crazy, like that was like crazy off topic, but the reason I said it because like it really makes me like very fortunate that our chapter just did so much this year. Like every time like I see things like that, I'm just like, man, like I wish we could have done something for him. And I think that that's kind of the mentality that this run is giving me is that like it's not what can Kappa Sigma do for me, it's like what can I do for Kappa Sigma. And so um I guess the other question is, and it's not. I know we're on. I know this is like a Greek speak, and but I do want to know, like, obviously we talked about it a little bit too, but what's your plans looking like for trying to work in sports in any capacity? Obviously, I kind of pointed you in the right direction of kind of where to go, and so how's that been so far?
So, this summer, I decided that it's not the time. Uh, I ultimately got a job at the Ulta Distribution Center as an equipment operator. Um, I learned a lot last summer from working at Target Distribution Center. Yeah, it's a warehouse and people can have their thoughts, but I every time, no matter what I do, I'm going to give 110% of my effort. And I learned a lot of life skills, whether it's time management, responsibility, teamwork in a sense. So I'm really excited for this next chapter, but I also just received an offer to start as an intern for the Pennsylvania Bar Association, which is a law company here in Pennsylvania, located in Harrisburg. I will be serving as a communications intern and helping them with press releases, writing their magazine. So kind of just dabbling in different things. I mean, I always tell people I feel like I'm like the king of side quests. Whether it's I just put up a YouTube video today of a highlight. I went out to a lacrosse game back in April, and I got footage, and then today I put together a highlight reel. Never done that before, but I just wanted to see how it goes. And I mean, yeah, it's probably rough, but you got to learn from there. Um, but I'm not giving up. I'm kind of taking the approach that you did, and this is kind of my reflection time of like, okay, what could I do better? And I think that's the best thing that I can do is reflect and bounce back and pick myself back up, because ultimately, if I am applying again, I think that does mean something to these organizations. Of I'm giving them I'm giving them a second look, because a lot of time if I'm giving them a second or third look, there's a good chance they'll at least give me a look because I'm showing consistent interest in their industry. But yeah, I mean, I would just love to go work in the NFL industry, specifically NFL. But I mean, I'd be interested in the NBA and MLB. I've recently got into college lacrosse, so that's been something that I've been watching a lot and kind of analyzing the film and stuff. I sound like a little bit of a nerd, but I just like to try different things. But yeah, just being willing to not give up and, bounce back, because I know this is the industry I want to be in, and I know this is the industry I'm going to be in. So, but that's a great question. But I really appreciate you coming on. You are the
Thanks
first
for having me.
non Shippensburg University student to come on. And I really think that this can pave the groundworks for what's to come. And, it used to be in the studio on Fridays and it was just ship students, but I think has the potential to be so much more than just students at my campus. It could be students from halfway across the country like yourself. But um, again, yeah,
I think the name is just insane. Like Greek speak is like such an original, like I don't know if you ripped it from somewhere because like I never heard it. I mean, I'm gonna
no,
assume you created,
no,
but like dude, like that's it's I feel like it's such a great idea. Like, and I do think that you should extend it to just like anybody who wants to come on and talk about their Greek life experience. I think that like Greek life has such a big area for growth. Like that's one thing that we talked about too. Like even within the organization that it's I think that there's an untapped market of like Greeks just in general of like people who aren't going to for example like sports games, right? And I'm just like, dude, like you get that market out there, like it doesn't matter what anybody says, right? Like we can all pretend that like let's have that. You guys have a pike at your school or like a pike?
no, we do not.
Okay, that's fine. So then, so let's say you guys had a Pike at your school and they went to teams are in Pennsylvania,
We have the Eagles and the
Pittsburgh.
Steelers. Yeah,
Oh,
Pittsburgh.
yeah, Steelers. Yeah, that's what I thought. So let's say like another fraternity on your campus all got to go to like a Steelers game, right? Like even if you hated the Steelers and you could hate that fraternity, you'd be like, that's still kind of cool though. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
in the back of your like you'd be like, yeah, it's still kind of cool. Like I really think that there's an untapped like market of like, dude, like if you get them involved, like there's just so much money. And so like in sports specifically, but that's like a whole rant for something else. But point being that, you know, like Greek speakers is a really good idea. And I do think you should, really try and get it to become bigger and just having Greeks from all over tell you about their experiences. I mean, dude, think about it. We all have such crazy stories and a lot of life lessons and a lot of, dude, the Speaker of the House is a
yeah,
Kappa Sigma.
yeah.
So what are we talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just it's just so many cool stories out there. So
Thank you so much, CJ, for coming on. And I appreciate all of our listeners. Obviously, I hope for this to get some good viewership, as I think this is a really, really groundbreaking episode, as it marks a whole change in the series. But we will be back next semester, don't worry. But again, CJ, thank you so much. And until next time, I will see you later.